Coming up today here on the Raiders Report is going to be a Raiders-Broncos preview. We're going to go through the odds. I'm going to give you my keys to victory here for the Silver and Black, and then all the chat sports predictions for this game. I went around the office here at the studio, and I said, who you got? Raiders, Broncos. Find out who the guys here at the studio pick. But I do got to give a shout-out to our sponsor, Panda Sups. Code Raiders, 20% off at pandasups.com. If you're dealing with, I don't know, maybe you're trying to get in a better shape, or I don't know, maybe you're dealing with a hamstring injury and you actually need to get healthy, then I also recommend maybe trying out the BCAAs, maybe get a little bit of protein in your diet. Just saying out loud if anybody's dealing with a hamstring injury out there. Pandasups.com, code Raiders for 20% off. Now, we know this is a big-time game, AFC West game. You got two teams right now, both sitting there at 2-2 on the season. Both teams coming off, honestly, some pretty impressive wins overall. For the Raiders, we got this win streak going right now. We have not lost to the Denver Broncos since December 29th, 2019. At the time that I'm making this video, 1,739 days it has been since the Denver Broncos have beaten the Las Vegas Raiders. And quite frankly, I would like to keep it that way. And I want y'all to subscribe to the Raiders Report. If A, you're going to pull up with us Sunday during our watch party, but if you call Denver the Donkeys, hit that subscribe button. If you know the Broncos have never beaten the Las Vegas Raiders, click that subscribe button. If you know that the last time the Broncos beat the Raiders was back in 2019, hit that subscribe button. If your hamstring is healthy, hit that subscribe button. Coming up here, again, we're going to get this game going. We're going to be breaking down some of the keys to victory. We're going to be looking at overall of what this matchup is bringing to Mile High. And when you look at this game from top to bottom, right, it's a little bit of a interesting AFC West rivalry. You got Sean Payton, you got Antonio Pierce, both teams sitting there with that 2-2 record, and there's a lot to be able to digest from this matchup. We'll also talk about some of the injury news that you could potentially get into that's going to impact this game. If you guys don't already know, I've got some sarcasm when it comes to Davante Adams. Let's look, though, at how the Raiders' offense stacks up against the Denver Broncos' defense, and this is probably going to be one of the toughest matchups that the Raiders' offense has faced all season long. Denver's defense has been legit. Quite frankly, one of the best defenses in the National Football League. This team needs to try to stay away from Patrick Surtain, who is, in my opinion, right now, no doubt the best cornerback in the NFL. The way that I want to see the Raiders work, though, is, yeah, you want to get that rushing game going a little bit. That's kind of the matchup here that I'm hoping that the Silver and Black can get after. You really need to be able to control the turnovers. None of that there, and you need to score in the red zone. For the Broncos offense up against the Raiders defense, this is kind of a battle of two squads that aren't all that great, and Bo Nix is really, really struggling to push that football down the field. And you can see right now, the Raiders defense has had some ups and downs. Hopefully, Maxx Crosby is going to be able to go into this one. But we know that Sean Payton is a good offensive-minded coach. I do think that Bo is going to get better and better as time goes on. I will never be a Bo Nix believer. But the way that these teams match up on offense and defense against each other, this is going to be a close game. This is going to be a slugfest. This is going to be your typical Raiders, Broncos, I hate each other type of ball game here. So give me your confidence level in the Raiders to take care of business up against the Donkeys. And this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. I want you to scroll on down. Give me your answer after this YouTube ad break. I'm going with a big old fat 10. Why? The Raiders own the Denver Donkeys, and this win streak's going to stay alive. Give me 9 straight wins for the Silver and Black. I know I'm overconfident right now, and if it wasn't the Broncos, if it was anybody else, this would be a 6 at the absolute most, and I hope that the nation has my back. If there's one team that I know that we own, it's that team that plays at Mile High. Now, let's get into some injury news here. Maxx Crosby, he is questionable in this one. Did not go out there and practice in the Wednesday, session. A lot of Raiders players missed Wednesday session, and for Maxx, though, he did say that he plans on playing in this game. He was on his podcast on Monday and said that I'm going to be playing in this game. Now, again, Antonio Pierce has kind of spoke about holding Maxx back from himself. If Maxx gets the okay, Maxx is going to play. The only way Maxx doesn't play is if the trainers literally tell him to not show up to the game yet again. Another injury news here, Davante Adams, and as I am filming this, according to Diana Rossini, Davante does in fact have a hamstring injury that's going to sideline him for 1 to 2 weeks. Davante has a hamstring injury that's going to sideline him for 1 to 2 weeks, but he should be able to go in week 6. Here's the thing. I'm not saying Diana's not reporting correctly. I do trust Diana Rossini. I just don't trust anything anymore that's coming out of Davante Adams' camp. I'm not saying Davante is not a trustworthy guy. I'm simply saying at this current moment, anything that comes out of Davante Adams' mouth regarding the Raiders, anything that comes out regarding Davante and this hamstring injury, I'm not going to buy into it. I don't think it's real. I think if he was traded right now, he would be out there and he would be okay to practice. But then again, we'll see. He's not playing, though, this week. Dylan Parham, he's questionable against Denver. This is definitely one that's an Achilles injury that is 100% worth monitoring. I know Achilles are a little bit up and down, but based on what I've been told, it's not looking too good right now for Parham. Really, really hoping that he's able to get out there and start, because that's when our offensive line is at its best, when it's JPJ, Andre James, Dylan Parham there on the interior. Other injury news here. This one came in from Vic Tafer. Zamir White had a groin, and linebacker Luke Masterson knee went down with injuries at practice today. Alexander Mattison's going to be your starting back, and quite frankly, I don't really think losing Zamir White's all that big of a deal right now for the Raiders. And the one player that I've been begging the silver and black to bench for a long time is Luke Masterson. That's kind of a mean way to say what I just did, but I am also being honest, and both of these players, I don't really think we're going to make that big of an impact in this game against Denver, but I am hoping that they rest up. I am hoping that there's nothing too serious. Once we get more of an update here around those injuries, I'll do my best to keep you up to date. But as you can see right here in our Raiders injury report from Wednesday, there is a gauntlet of names. Maxx did not participate. Divine Diablo. And, a lot of these aren't all that surprising. The personal one there for Michael Mayer, we'll kind of keep you guys up to date to see what happens in that regard. Colton Miller, from what I understand, is okay. He was lifting this morning when he wasn't out there early on in the practice field, but that shoulder injury is still a lingering injury, if you will. More good news, though, on the injury front. Trey Taylor, the Raiders rookie out of Air Force, the Jim Thorpe Award winner, he was able to practice today for the first time this season. Reminder, he was on the short-term IR. I'll be curious to see what he looks like going up in this game. And then I know a lot of y'all are probably looking at Isaiah Paul-Amal, and no need to panic there. He was not at practice today, and I don't know when he will practice. He is expecting the birth of his first child, and I'm not going to blame a guy for not showing up to practice. I'm not going to blame a guy for – I want him to play on game day. But obviously, if he's getting ready for the birth of his first child, he needs to be there for the birth of his first child. But just something to watch, just something to see, and that's why Isaiah Paul-Amal wasn't at practice today. So we will get into the keys to victory here in just a moment, but I do think a key to making sure that your body's healthy, to making sure that you're getting the best out of yourself. If you go to Panda Supps right now, use code Raiders, I would recommend trying out their brand new protein flavors, and they have chocolate, vanilla. They got this brand new ice cream sundae cone. They have a s'mores one that's pretty rockin' and roller. The strawberry one, the pineapple is awesome. Those are some of the ones that I've been crushing. Mint chocolate chip, I went through like 2 or 3 containers of those. If you also need help just kind of motivating yourself to be able to get in a good workout, their pre-workout is very strong, and I say that in the if you don't handle caffeine well, maybe take a half a scoop when you try it out. That way you're not feeling like you got ants crawling all over your body. They also have these new tactical backpacks for out there for some of the nation. And reminder, the owner of Panda Supps is a die-hard Raiders fan. So if you support your own, go support Panda Supps. Go try it out. Now, I was talking to Noah Santana, which, by the way, shout out to Mr. Suavemente, and he just got his Panda Supps. He absolutely loves it, and I think a lot of Raiders fans, they've been a sponsor on the show for 4 years. Why? They put out good products. They give the nation good deals. And again, it's owned and operated by a Raiders fan. So let's go. Let's get into some of these keys to victory here for the Silver and Black to be able to take care of business against the Denver Broncos. My first key to victory is, and anybody watches this show and anybody that watched my draft coverage this offseason, you got to make Bo Nix throw the ball down the field. The numbers that Nix put up last week, if you guys haven't seen some of the stats, they are unbelievable. I mean, he was like the first quarterback in the NFL history to have negative passing yards at halftime when completing. I think he completed like 8 or 9 balls and had minus 14 yards. I don't know how they ended up winning this game, but you got to make Bo throw the ball past 10 yards. And this does make me a little bit nervous considering the fact that Patrick Graham's defense is a bend but don't break defense, and they're sometimes willing to give up that dinking and dunking. If I'm PG, you got to play up near the line and make those guys try to beat you because their receivers are not better than our corners. Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs, Jacorian Bennett, I got the utmost trust in those guys, and Bo's not good enough to be able to get it done. Hell, look at this stat here according to Next Gen Stats. Nix posted a 0% success rate on his 16 dropbacks in the first half, marking the first time a player has had 0 successful plays in the first half of an NFL game since those statistics were kept. Bottom line, Bo Nix, bad. Jeremy just said cheeks. But we tried to warn the nation of how bad Bo Nix is. He's a quarterback that's a system guy, and he's just going to try to dink it and dunk it and check it down over and over. If you make him throw the ball down the field, they are really going to struggle on offense. Let's go to the next thing here. Let's got to get the wide receivers involved in the running game. I loved how Trey Tucker and DJ Turner were involved. I love how Tyreek McAllister was involved. With no Davante Adams anymore, you're going to be leaning on Brock Bowers. You're going to be leaning on Jacoby Myers. But I think it's also very important to lean on your receivers to get it going. Last week against the Browns, 4 carries, 32 yards, 2 touchdowns for Raiders wide receivers. Also, you could tell by the second, third quarter, even the fourth quarter, a lot of hands-on hips for that Browns defense because when you have to go back and forth, and you got to try to chase down Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, Tyreek McAllister, there's not many players in the NFL that have 4.3, 4.4 speed. So even if they don't get the ball, you could tell that it started to really win them out a little bit. And I think if the Raiders just do the offense that's at their most strength, where they're a physical team, they're going to pound the rock. Denver's at best in the passing game in terms of their secondary. They're still a good run defense team, but their secondary is really, really legit. So if I'm the Raiders, I'm trying to get physical. I'm trying to run behind JPJ, and I want to get those wide receivers involved to not make it so easily predictable. Let's go to the next one here. You got to give Alexander Mattison at least 75% of the running back touches. Now, when I first designed these keys to victory, I'll be honest, I did not know that Zamir White was dealing with a groin injury. And now the fact that he's dealing with a groin, we'll kind of see where the Raiders end up doing with Zeus. But, now you got to lean on Alexander Mattison even more. Because I don't know if I'm ready to trust Dylan Laube, a rookie in his first game in an AFC West matchup on the road at Mile High. That's a tough one. I would lean on Amir Abdullah, somebody who is a little bit more of a veteran. I would lean a little bit more on Alexander Mattison, which you can see right now. Mattison has been clearly the better running back. Even if Zamir White is 100% healthy in this football game, the Raiders need to lean more on Alexander Mattison because their offense is clearly better with him. He's clearly the better fit with the zone blocking scheme, and he's just overall the better player right now. Sometimes guys go through streaks. We saw Zamir go on a hot streak at the end of the season last year, and maybe that'll happen. It's just right now, Alexander Madison's got the hotter hand, and you got to keep on leaning number 22. Let's go to the next one here. You better be ready for a slugfest. I think this is going to be an old school, ugly type of football game. If you're a fan of Big Ten football, this is one of those games where I'm talking like Michigan, Penn State, Iowa, Michigan State, a game Iowa, Wisconsin, a game that could potentially end 13-10. Hell, I was just doing a video for Amazon, and my score prediction in this game was 17-16. It's going to be a slugfest. This is going to be a game where it's not about the flash. This is going to be a game won in the trenches. And I really, truly believe, and I know I say that a lot, where games are won in the trenches, and they really, truly are. But this is a game especially that if whoever is dominating on the offensive line, on the defensive line, that's going to be the difference in this football game. That I can guarantee. And then the last one, because it's going to be such a slugfest, whoever wins the turnover battle, I guarantee it wins this game, and we got to be able to flip the field. Last week, A.J. Cole, 4 punts, 232 yards, had a long as 67. The Raiders need to have that type of mentality again where you need to be able to get that defense tired. You need to be able to feed your running back a lot. Get ready for that slugfest, and if you can't get it, you know that you got a punter that when he's standing in your end zone, he can kick it all the way down to the 20-yard line on that other side of the field. Use that to your advantage. Use that to your strength. And then especially at Mile High, that ball travels a lot more. So you got to rely on Daniel Carlson. You got to rely on A.J. Cole. You got to rely on being able to flip that field because Bo Nix in this offense is not good enough to continuously go down the field and score. So if you hold them in bad situations and you do exactly what you did against Cleveland, like if I'm the Raiders, I look at what I did against the Cleveland Browns and I go, here's what I did well. I'm going to try to do that again. Here's what I didn't do well. How can I do a better job of doing that? Because that same recipe against Cleveland will get you a dub the same exact way against this Denver Broncos team. So right now, wow, look at this. Broncos, 3-point favorites at home. Love it. Love it. Bulletin board material. Put it right up there, man. The over-under in this one is 36.5 points. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be an ugly game. Quite frankly, I'm taking the under on most Raiders games this upcoming season. So how about this? Give me your score prediction right now. Las Vegas Raiders up against the Denver Broncos. I already gave you my prediction. And you know what they say? If I show you mine, you got to show me yours too. Raiders, Broncos, I'm going 17-16, and you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. After that ad break, I want you to scroll on down, give me your score predictions, and then I'll be breaking down all the chat sports predictions here from our team. The chat sports team went this route here for the Broncos up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And you know what? They're rocking with us. They're rocking with the silver and black, and quite frankly, I respect it. If you see Jack Sperry, Jake Chipper, or Allie Barefoot, if you know their Instagram or Twitter, hey, don't be afraid to tag them. Hell, tag me on Instagram. Post this screenshot because I love the screenshot always showing that the Raiders are down or the team that, you know, people are going the opposite way. I want to see people show some love to everybody that picked LV in this matchup. So if you could, post it on social. Don't be afraid to tag me on it. All right, y'all. I got to get the heck out of here. I'm going to be live later on today, just so all y'all know, for Thursday Night Football. It's going to be Falcons up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I got to dress up in a wild costume, and I think that you guys are going to have some fun tuning into tonight's show. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure those notifications are turned on, but then also make sure you pull up for Sunday. It's going to be a wild day.